Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. After the college entrance exam, I went to find my first love, holding the exact same college acceptance letter as him, only to see him hugging another girl, acting intimately. When he saw me, he didn't even flinch. Instead, he said casually, "Well, since you caught me, let's just break up." I questioned him. "How could you do this to me? You're the one who told me to apply to the same college as you." He responded lightly, "That was your choice." That one sentence, "That was your choice," nearly ruined my entire life. Maybe I should have known from the beginning that he never loved anyone. He just enjoyed watching top students fall for him. It was like that with me. And no doubt it would be the same with the other girl. Later, I suffered countless hardships because of my low academic qualifications. One day, in a daze, I got into a car accident, but then I was reborn back to my senior year of high school. This time around, I will never hold back my scores for love. I had dropped from qualifying for a 211 university to a third-tier private college. But in this life, my target is Stanford. When the bell rang, my deskmate lazily said, "You should go bring water to Ryan." Without even lifting my head, I replied, "Not bringing it." My deskmate looked surprised. In his memory, I had always been Ryan Carter's loyal little fangirl. In the past, the moment class ended, I would run to find him, bringing him water or snacks, picking up his dirty clothes after basketball, or helping with the homework he hadn't finished. Thinking about it now, I couldn't help but press my fingers to my forehead. How sweet I was. How could I not have realized how ridiculously good I had been to him in my past life? I thought that was love. So much so that I got blinded, bewitched by his words on the eve of the college entrance exam. "I hope we can go to the same college." Because of that, I deliberately skipped a few big questions during the test, and dragged my 211 level score down to third tier just so I could be with him. And what did I end up with? I lost both my education and that so-called love. I was left with nothing. Burdened by the harshness of life, I was forced to take low-paying jobs with minimal requirements. I worked like mad trying to improve myself. But when I confidently submitted my resume, every company rejected me simply because my university was third tier. At that moment, I finally understood how stupid it was to hold back for love. My abilities were wiped away by a single line from an HR. Only a third-tier grad, just like how his comment shattered all my fantasies about love. I walked out of the building in a trance. Everything around me turned blurry. The trees beside me glowed green under the streetlights. I stepped forward, thinking I heard someone calling me. I listened carefully, only to hear that same HR voice again. Only a third-tier grad. In the very next second, I was hit by a car. As my consciousness faded, I thought seriously, if I could start over again, I would never do something as stupid as holding back for love. So dumb. Yes, way too dumb. My deskmate, with his usual nosy curiosity, asked, "Did you two have a fight?" Snapping out of my thoughts, I pointed at the tough math problem Mr. Rock Jackson had just explained and said, "Seriously, do you know how to solve this?" He shook his head. I added, "Neither do I. That's why I need to figure it out. No time to go find him." A minute later, when he saw me getting up and walking out, he couldn't help but peek and mutter, "Didn't even study that long and already going to see a guy again." In reality, I was heading to find a teacher, but I couldn't blame him. His impression of me was deeply ingrained. Even I, thinking back to the way I acted in my past life, felt a strong sense of regret and disappointment in myself. But in this life, I'm completely over Ryan Carter. I only want to study hard, even aim for Stanford, the university I would have had a shot at if I hadn't held back for love. When the teacher at the Stanford admissions office saw me, he seemed a little surprised. After all, my relationship with Ryan was well known throughout the school. The academic director, seeing that our grades never dropped and we didn't cross any major lines, had turned a blind eye to us. But in my past life, after I deliberately tanked my score and got into a private third-tier college instead of a 211, it severely affected the school's reputation for college placement. I heard the academic director was furious when he found out, and began cracking down hard on all early relationships, refusing to let any couple slide. But adults are different. Even if they have thoughts, they don't ask directly like my desk mate. During math class, the teacher spoke quickly, going over several key, difficult questions. Even with the memories of my past life, I still felt lost. There was one question I didn't understand. Just as the teacher was patiently explaining it to me, a girl walked in with a stack of homework for the class. She saw me and exclaimed, "Emily, what are you doing here? Ryan was just asking where you were." Annoyed, I replied, "I'll be wherever I want to be. Can't you see I'm in the middle of a lesson? Don't interrupt me, I'm the teacher." Seeing my reaction, the girl quickly set down the stack of homework and jogged out. Once I finally understood the question, I left the office satisfied. But on my way back to the classroom, I ran into the one person I least wanted to see. Staring at the narrow hallway, I said helplessly, "Move. Class is about to start." Ryan looked a little hurt. "Emily, why didn't you bring me water? We had gym class last period. I'm exhausted." "If you're thirsty, go buy it yourself," I snapped. "What? Were you just waiting for me to bring it to you? Do you really think you're some kind of prince?" Ryan Carter came from a wealthy family. He was usually generous with classmates, good-looking, could play basketball, but didn't care much for studying. He was one of those popular figures in our grade. A few guys liked hanging around him, and always called him Math Young Master Ryan. Eventually, everyone started calling him that, and he seemed to enjoy it. But when it came to me, his girlfriend, he was downright stingy. Stingy to the extreme. Whether it was food, water, or tutoring, Ryan never spent a single penny on me. Back then, I thought it meant he saw me as one of his own. That real closeness didn't need formalities. I thought the way he treated me was different from how he treated everyone else, that it was something special just for me. Looking back now, I realized just how foolish I was. Ryan looked stunned at my words. "Hasn't it always been like this? What's gotten into you?" Exactly. This was how it had always been. Because I never complained, he took everything for granted. Then perhaps remembering something, Ryan said coldly. "Is this because I turned you down last weekend when you asked me to hang out? You got mad over that." "Emily, I've told you so many times already. We're still young. I can't let my parents know about you." I couldn't even be bothered to argue. I shoved past him and said firmly, "We're done. Don't contact me again." I walked off quickly, leaving him behind with a thoughtful look on his face. Thanks to memories from my past life, even though I couldn't recall the exact questions from the college entrance exam, I had a good idea of the topics that were likely to be tested. I wrote them all down in a notebook, planning to tackle them one by one. What I didn't expect was that Ryan Carter wasn't going to be that easy to shake off. Or maybe he wouldn't be satisfied until he dragged me back into the mud with him. Maybe that's just some twisted rich kid hobby. I didn't understand it, and I didn't want to. In this life, no one gets to interfere with my studies. Absolutely no one. During our lunch break, Ryan swaggered into our class with a few of his usual followers. I had spent the whole morning absorbing knowledge like a sponge, and by noon, my head was pounding. I rested with my head down for a bit. Ryan shooed away my desk mate and sat right next to me. We were in an advanced placement class. Most of the top students were buried in their books. No one was napping. A few classmates noticed the commotion and muttered irritably, "Seriously, can't they stop already? Dating in class? This is too much. She doesn't want to study, fine, but we do. And now she's bringing her boyfriend into our classroom. I'm going to tell the academic director this afternoon. Emily should be moved to another class." Ryan acted like he didn't hear any of it and tapped me awake. Still groggy, I opened my eyes, and when I heard my classmates whispering, my face turned dark immediately, but I held back. I didn't want to cause a scene. Instead, I got up and started walking outside. As I passed Ryan, I said in a low voice, "Come out." He followed me. Once we reached a quiet corner, I turned to him, my voice ice cold. "What exactly do you want, Ryan?" He still had that smug, laid-back look. He motioned for his buddies to hand me a few notebooks, saying as if it were completely normal, "The teacher assigned some new homework. I don't want to do it, so I brought it for you." I slapped the homework out of his hand, paper scattering to the floor. "Seriously," I said, my tone sharp. "There's so many of you. and none of you can fill out 3 lousy assignments. Why are you coming to me? I told you we broke up. I'm not bringing you water. I'm not doing your homework. Don't you get it? Ryan was stunned. His expression flickered, clearly embarrassed. Just as he was about to explode, one of his buddies nudged him and said, "Ryan, you've got to be gentle when trying to win a girl back," one of Ryan's friends muttered. Ryan had no choice but to soften his tone. "Emily, I was wrong to turn you down the other day. Let's go to that amusement park our families both like this weekend." Okay. I stepped right onto his homework notebook, staring as his slightly delicate, not quite handsome face began to twist with frustration. My voice was sharp and fierce. "I'll say it again. We're done. If you show up in my class and bother me again, I'll report it to the academic director. I'm sure he'll call your parents. And you wouldn't want them finding out about us, would you?" I turned around and walked off. Behind me, I heard Ryan's angry voice yell, "Emily, I gave you a chance. Don't regret it." I already did regret it. I regretted not seeing his selfishness sooner. When I got back to the classroom, I immediately sensed that something was off. I could feel scattered, judgmental glances aimed my way. Our class monitor, Tiffany Lee, stood up and looked down at me with a condescending tone. "Emily, you're being way too obvious about your relationship. It's shameless." I shot back. What exactly did I do that was out of line? In my past life, I had no idea when Tiffany even got involved with Ryan, but the look of hostility in her eyes now made me wonder if something was already going on between them. With a sneer, Tiffany snapped, "You really need me to spell it out? Everyone knows you've been Ryan's pathetic lapdog. You think you're so great at school that you can flaunt your love life." She scoffed. "You only ranked 20th last time. There are 19 people in this class doing better than you. And you, of all people, keep calling him young Master Ryan, like you're special." Her words made me feel sick. I lay my head on my desk, not even bothering to look at her. "Next time I'll beat your score. Just wait." "You beat me." Tiffany laughed coldly. "All you ever do is flirt around. Do you even know my rank? I was 5th last time." I didn't answer. I just kept my eyes closed. Tiffany, furious that I wasn't engaging, stormed out of the classroom. Later, I found out that while I was napping, Tiffany went to the academic director and exaggerated everything. She claimed I had no sense of collective responsibility, that I was constantly distracted by love and dragging the class down. My ranking had dropped to 20th after a bad test, even though I normally hovered around 15th. She also twisted the details of that one poor quiz into a dramatic tale. The result? Tiffany stood smugly next to our homeroom teacher, a satisfied smile on her face as he spoke to me in a serious tone. "Emily, you once said your relationship wouldn't affect your studies, which is why the school didn't make a big deal out of it. But your recent drop in rankings has the school concerned. If you don't place within the top 10 next time, we'll have to transfer you out of the advanced class." I frowned. Even if I'm only ranked 20th, does that really mean I should be sent to the regular class? Looking uncomfortable, the teacher explained. "The school feels that if you're not focused on your studies, it could affect the overall learning environment of the advanced class. That spot should go to someone who will use it more seriously." I nodded. This didn't happen in my previous life. It must have been triggered by the changes in how I now treated Ryan and Tiffany. Still, I replied with confidence, "No problem." Tiffany smirked. "Next time's the joint exam with the 8 schools. Let's see if you can even stay in this class." I replied with a cold smile. "If I can't stay, what makes you think you belong here either?" Now fairly certain of a suspicion I'd had all along, I thought in this life, "I'm not letting you two push me out of this class, and you won't be getting in either, Ryan." After that confrontation with Ryan, he never came looking for me again, which suited me just fine. I buried myself in my studies. My desk mate, ever the gossip, leaned over to chat. "Hey, did you hear? Ryan's been getting real close with Tiffany lately. She tutors him every day now." Seeing that I didn't react, he continued talking to himself. "I mean, Ryan's already loaded. Why is he even trying so hard in school?" Trying hard? More like using studying as an excuse to date, I thought. I smiled faintly and went back to my practice problems. Nothing works better than grinding through questions. When my deskmate saw I truly didn't care about Ryan anymore, he wisely kept quiet. The next exam was the joint test between 8 schools. I hadn't done well on it in my past life. The questions were too difficult, and most students struggled. But this time, with the knowledge I carried from before, plus all the post-exam reviews I'd gone through, I felt more prepared than ever. If I wanted to make a splash, this would be the perfect chance. At lunch, I bumped into Ryan and Tiffany. Looking at them from an outsider's perspective, I had to admit they probably did make a better match than me and him. Ryan's gentle demeanor and Tiffany's lively assertiveness were a perfect match. I kept my head down and quietly ate my lunch. But of course Ryan and Tiffany had already spotted me, and clearly, they weren't planning to let me eat in peace. I watched them, all smiles and intimacy, walk straight toward me. I picked up my tray, ready to leave. The cafeteria was huge with plenty of empty seats, but Tiffany raised her voice, a sharp edge in her tone. "Emily, why are you running away? Feeling ashamed because you're about to be kicked out of the honors class?" That one sentence made me stop. Why should I run? If anyone should be ashamed, it's them. They had no idea how long I had unknowingly worn that crown of humiliation in my past life. Seeing me sit back down and eat in silence, Ryan leaned in with a grin. "I've got some inside info for you. The main test designer for this joint exam is Mr. Wong. I managed to get one of the practice tests he made. Want a copy?" I didn't believe he could be that generous. I focused on my food and ignored him. Tiffany, annoyed, snapped, "Emily, we're just trying to help you. Is this how you respond? All you have to do is apologize to me in front of the whole class, and Ryan and I will make sure you stay in the honors class." I almost laughed. Apologize for what? If she wants to date that jerk, go ahead, but don't parade it in front of me like she's won some grand prize. What is she upset about? Back when she was sneaking around with Ryan, she had to stay in the shadows. And now that they're official, she's desperate to flaunt it in my face. I remembered how I first met Ryan. It was a gloomy, rainy day. I was huddled under the library's eaves, holding my books and waiting for the rain to stop. Then Ryan appeared and handed me an umbrella. I didn't even know him at the time. Later, when I returned the umbrella to his classroom, his friends teased me so badly, I ran off in embarrassment. That's when Ryan really noticed me. He started teasing me on purpose, making little moves here and there around me. He always played the superior role, aloof and unreachable. When he handed me that umbrella, he'd said, "Take it. I've got plenty." When his friends mocked me, he told them, "Don't say stuff like that." As if I'd ever like her. And yet, when I collapsed from low blood sugar, he was the one who carried me to the nurse's office. I remember asking him, "Why are you so nice to me?" He hesitated for a second, then smiled brightly and leaned in close to whisper, "Because I like you." But it was all a lie. He never liked me. He just enjoyed the thrill of seducing someone like me, watching me fall head over heels, then crash into the dirt. That was his game. But I'm done playing in his filth. Trash like him can go find someone equally rotten. I lifted my empty bowl and said coldly, "I don't need your test paper. Nothing's more valuable than the memory I have in my head. This time, I won't rely on your so-called kindness." Behind me, I heard Ryan's smug voice. "Emily, then get ready to be kicked out of the honors class. I can get in with just a snap of my fingers." "Is that so?" I said calmly. "Then let's see who stays." As the joint exam drew closer, the atmosphere in class became tense. Even Tiffany quieted down, focused on studying. After the exam, complaints erupted, just like in my past life. This test was way too hard. Tiffany, on the other hand, looked smug. I knew who the test author was in advance. I practiced a ton of his questions. I figured out his pattern. "Wow, you're amazing. How do you even know that?" her friends gushed. While basking in their praise, Tiffany made sure to call out my name loudly. With a smug, challenging tone, she told the people around her, "I already talked to a few friends and they all think they did great. I'm curious what kind of rank Emily's going to get this time. Wouldn't be surprised if she has to pack her things and leave," one of her friends added. I passed by the teacher's office just now. Our homeroom teacher was super mad. He only praised Tiffany. Tiffany covered her mouth with a light laugh, then glanced at me lazily. I'll probably land in the top 5. As for some people, who knows if they'll even make it into the top 20. If not, well, their seat will be available. Hey Tiffany, are you and Ryan dating now? Someone asked. I think you and Ryan make a perfect pair. If Ryan joins our class, that'd be great. Better eye candy than Emily, that's for sure. Right after the comment, the homeroom teacher walked in with a tight expression. He slammed a thick stack of test papers on the desk and said sternly, "This joint exam was important, but our class didn't perform as well as expected. Some students scored worse than the regular class. The regular class ranked just below ours. Most top-performing students were in the honors class. So if the teacher said that, it meant someone had dropped out of the top 50 entirely." Complaints filled the room. These questions were way harder than usual. Totally different level. Tiffany stepped forward confidently and said, "I thought the questions were fine. Anyone who puts in a little effort normally could have handled that exam. If someone can't even outscore the regular class, they must have been slacking off all along." "Don't you think so, Emily?" I answered, "Absolutely." Sure." Tiffany covered her mouth and laughed, lifting her chin. Still trying to act tough. "Emily, don't you know what rank you got? I just glanced at the results in the teacher's office. You didn't even make the top 20. In fact, your name's not anywhere past the top 20 either. But I was confident in my performance. I didn't believe I had fallen that far." I turned to ask the teacher directly, "Sir, what's my rank?" The homeroom teacher cut me off, clearly irritated. "How would I know your score? You students who don't take studying seriously nearly cost my honors class its ranking against the regular class. Now I'm going to read off a few names. Those students go to my office and write a reflection letter." He began listing names in a stern voice. Shirley Ling ranked 52nd. Max Meng 67th. Wendy Pang and Jason Pan both ranked 73rd. And you, Belen, you actually scored 98th. I lost my bonus because of students like you. Go write your reflections now." His angry voice echoed through the classroom. My name hadn't come up, but I was growing anxious. Then pointing at me, he added, "And you too, Emily. You don't even have a rank. Go write one as well." "What?" My eyes widened in disbelief. "How is that possible, sir? How could I have no ranking at all? Even if I turned in a blank sheet, I'd still get a rank." The teacher hesitated slightly, as if unsure how to respond. Right then, Tiffany's mocking voice chimed in at the perfect moment. "Could it be that you got caught cheating and the school hasn't told the teacher yet? Honestly, Emily, I didn't think you'd stoop so low just to stay in the honors class." That comment sparked a flurry of whispers from the rest of the class. A quiet boy muttered, "I heard someone did get caught cheating during the test. Just not sure who." Tiffany's confidence swelled as she nodded. "I heard it too. Someone got caught cheating during the exam. And people who cheat don't get scores. No score, no rank. Emily, if you were the one caught cheating, you might as well admit it now." The teacher now stood firm, ordering me to go write the reflection letter as well. But I hadn't cheated, and I would never score below the top 50. I stared coldly at Tiffany. "Spreading false rumors is illegal. Class president, I hope you have proof rather than making things up." "Then explain why your name isn't on the list," she said smugly. I couldn't. I had no explanation. The homeroom teacher, convinced I was the reason he lost his bonus, kept muttering angrily and tried to drag me out to write the letter. I refused. If I left now, even if the truth came out later, the seed of doubt would already be planted in everyone's mind, and I had done nothing wrong. Why should I admit to anything? The tension in the room thickened until a calm voice came from the back corner. The top 10 tests were sent to the City Education Board for special review. They probably haven't been returned yet. It was Ryan Chen, the student who had always been number 1 in our grade. Tiffany quickly retorted, "You really think Emily could be in the city's top 10? Ryan shrugged casually and looked the teacher straight in the eye. "Sir, I'm guessing my name isn't on the list either." The teacher paused, then admitted, "No, it's not. But everyone knows you're definitely in first place." "But Emily," he said, raising an eyebrow. Then he turned to Tiffany with a faint smile. Why don't we all just wait for the top 10 papers to come back before jumping to conclusions? Okay, President Tiffany? I heard they'll be returned this afternoon along with the list of any students caught cheating. Either way, we'll know for sure. His voice was soft but carried a firmness that couldn't be challenged. Tiffany looked at the teacher, saw that he wasn't insisting anymore, and reluctantly backed off, but not before muttering, "Why are you even helping her?" "Because you're all being too loud," Ryan replied. "You're interrupting my studying." It sounded logical, but something about it unsettled Tiffany. Then again, Ryan was known for being obsessed with studying, a total academic nerd, so she let it go. "Fine, Emily. If you're not going to admit to cheating now, just wait until this afternoon. Then the whole school will know," she said. I couldn't even be bothered to respond. No matter what, the innocent don't need to prove anything. I didn't cheat. Simple as that. There was no need for me to justify myself to anyone. That afternoon, the homeroom teacher called me, Ryan Chun, and another girl into the office. I was the first to return to class. As I was packing up my desk, Tiffany spotted me and shouted, "Look everyone, Emily's being kicked out." Honestly, I had to admire her energy. Was she that insecure? She acted like stepping on me would instantly make her feel superior. My desk mate looked visibly upset, and even wanted to defend me, but I stopped him. He still had to stay in this class. There was no point in getting on Tiffany's bad side for someone like me who was supposedly leaving. He asked me quietly, "Are you really leaving because you cheated?" I smiled and glanced at Tiffany, who was practically glowing with excitement. She won't be smiling for long. Sure enough, when Ryan Chun and the others came back, they brought news with them. Apparently, that paper was said to be the closest thing to the real college entrance exam. Inwardly, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Honestly, the actual college exam questions were just a bit easier than this set. While I was thriving in the regular class, I still occasionally heard gossip from the honors class. One extra spot had opened up, and Ryan Carter took it. Several students with better scores than his were furious. But Ryan smoothed things over by handing out fancy gift bags to everyone. And suddenly no one complained. Tiffany got what she wanted too. She and Ryan were officially dating now. I don't know if Ryan just had a thing for low-performing girls or if Tiffany, once in a relationship, stopped caring about school. Either way, the two of them were all over each other in class, acting gross and overly affectionate. When my new desk mate, Lily Lee, told me about it, she even seemed indignant on my behalf. Not only are they constantly showing off their relationship, but they keep bad-mouthing you. I froze for a moment mid-question. Lily kept talking, like every time Ryan gives Tiffany something, she always asks, "Did he ever give this to Emily?" I clenched my pen a little tighter. Ryan always says no. Says he never gave you anything. Said you didn't deserve it. It was truly too much. But he wasn't wrong. In his eyes, the person I used to be wasn't worthy. Just like how the person he is now doesn't even register to me anymore. Pretending I hadn't heard anything, I asked, "Don't be upset. Want to keep going on this question?" "Yeah, let's do it," she said. Time passed quickly. When there were only 3 months left before the college entrance exam, the school held a masquerade ball. It was said to be one last chance for the seniors to relax before the final stretch. My grades were now steadily holding at second or third in the grade. I'd heard bits about Ryan Chun. He really was a genius. The kind of person who seemed born with a spotlight on him. I didn't stand a chance against him. The girl who had been fighting me for second place sometimes brought practice papers to discuss with me. She came to the ball too. Just as I was about to ask which paper she wanted to go over, she handed me a beautifully crafted mask and said mysteriously, "Emily, wear this to the masquerade tonight." I accepted the mask, admiring the delicate design. I hadn't paid much attention to this event, but I thanked her for the gesture. The masquerade ball was held in the auditorium, just like in my previous life. The school had decorated it with vintage-style stages, each one playing a different classical track. Everyone wore masks, dancing and laughing under dim, elegant lighting. In my past life, I clung tightly to Ryan Carter, terrified of losing him in the crowd. I didn't know how to dance and was embarrassed, quietly begging him, "Don't walk so fast. Stay with me." When the music swelled, he asked, Why don't you dance? I shook my head, looking down. I don't know how. He gave a half laugh. Maybe mocking, maybe not. Then he grabbed the sleeve of my dress and actually guided me through the steps, one graceful move at a time. The noise of music and people faded around us. I felt like I was walking on snow, savoring a rare moment of tenderness from him. But in this life, I came alone, wearing the mask someone gave me. I held a glass of orange juice and leaned against a corner wall, watching couples swirl across the floor. After a while, it all started to feel dull. Maybe I should just go back and do another practice test. Just as I turned to leave, a few people stepped in front of me. Even though they were wearing masks, I could instantly tell who they were from the arrogance practically radiating through their disguises. I sighed. Tiffany, shouldn't you be trailing after Ryan? Why bother with me? What? Want to go solve test papers together? The thought amused me. Tiffany, holding a cup of soda, suddenly threw it straight at me. Sticky liquid soaked my hair and trickled down my face. Oddly enough, I was calm. Eerily calm. All right, so this is how you want to play it. I grabbed a nearby bottle, twisted the cap off, and dumped it over Tiffany. She screamed, but her voice was quickly swallowed by the music. I gripped her wrist and said coldly, "What else do you want to try?" Tiffany clearly hadn't expected me to fight back. After all, I'd always come off as quiet and easy to push around, but enough was enough. She'd bullied me in 2 lifetimes now. I was done putting up with it. She winced from the pain, and her friends, pretty but useless, only offered half-hearted words from the sidelines. None of them dared step in. That's when Miss Lu, one of the teachers, noticed something was off and began making her way toward us. The moment Tiffany's sidekicks saw her coming, they all scattered. I let go of her wrist. Tiffany threw out one last ridiculous threat. "If you dare go after Ryan again, you better watch out." I blinked. Who's going after him? Before I could say more, a slender hand reached out toward me. Resting in the open palm was a pack of tissues. I glanced up, took the tissues without hesitation, and started wiping the soda from my hair. I saw everything he said. I didn't respond. Then came his next words, calm and unexpected. "Why not dance?" I froze instantly, raising my head to look at him, forgetting all about the mess in my hair. My voice trembled a little from surprise. "You, who are you?" In my past life, I'd always had my doubts. Ryan Carter didn't seem like the kind of guy who knew how to dance. The boy in front of me smiled gently but didn't answer. I reached out instinctively, wanting to pull off his mask, only to realize it looked surprisingly similar to mine. "It's you," I whispered, feeling like I'd just been played. I couldn't tell whether I was more amused or annoyed. In the end, I ran off in a panic, telling myself it was because I needed to go work on more practice tests. Back in the empty classroom, my hand trembled slightly as I gripped my pen. So it really was him. But maybe that was for the best. At least now I'd resolved one of the lingering mysteries from my past life. This time around, I was determined to move forward without regrets. With that thought clearing my mind, I dove into my test paper, scribbling answers with focus. Dried soda dripped from my hair onto the paper, but I paid it no attention. On the top line, I pressed down hard as I wrote C. As the college entrance exam approached, the entire school fell into a state of high-strung intensity. Everyone was racing against time. I was no exception, constantly reviewing and reinforcing key knowledge points. Afraid this lifetime's exam might differ from the last. Everyone was working hard. Well, everyone except Tiffany and Ryan. Ryan was clever, but he didn't put much effort into studying. He figured it was enough to get into a decent third-tier university, so he wouldn't lose face. Tiffany, once quite serious about school, had clearly been influenced by him. Now she skipped evening study sessions just to hang out with him. My seat was by the window, and one evening they passed by again, skipping study hall. Through the open window, I heard Tiffany laugh and say, "Look, Ryan, Emily's studying so seriously." Ryan didn't even glance at me. Instead, he threw an arm around Tiffany's shoulder and said smugly, "What's the point of being a top student? Tiffany, stick with me. Once we graduate from college, you'll help me take over the family business. And as for her, no matter how good her grades are, she'll still end up working for someone else." I couldn't help myself. What's wrong with working for someone else? I called out. I love working. I absolutely love it. Then I slammed the window shut and let them strut away. The classroom had been dead silent, but after I spoke, a few people burst out laughing. Soon the whole class joined in. Yeah, what's wrong with working for someone else? Just because someone owns a business doesn't make them better than the rest of us. Besides, I wasn't aiming for just any job. I was going to Tingda University. I calmed myself and refocused, burying my head in my notes. No more distractions. When I finally walked out of the college entrance exam hall, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the past 6 months since being reborn, I had lived and breathed for this moment. When my acceptance letter arrived, I also received an invitation to a regular class reunion. As I stood at the door of the KTV suite, a drunk guy blocked my way. I looked up. It was Ryan Carter. Turns out the honors class had booked the room next door. I frowned. What do you want, Ryan? Leaning on alcohol, he asked me. How many points did you get? What school are you going to? He and Tiffany had clearly let themselves go before the exam. I doubted they'd been paying much attention to anyone else's scores. Without a word, I pulled the still warm acceptance letter from my pocket. The bold letters, Tsinghua University, made his drunken haze dissipate instantly. You got into Tsinghua? He asked bitterly. Before I could answer, Tiffany appeared, clearly looking for him. She propped him up and glared at me. Ryan and I are going to the same university. You can go be jealous in your little corner. I looked at her seriously for once. Tiffany, are you okay? You think I'd be jealous of someone going to a third-tier university while I'm headed to Tsinghua? You could have made it into a 211 school. And for what? You threw it all away for a guy like him. Was it worth it? With that, I turned and walked into the regular class suite. That last line wasn't just for her. It was for the old me too. Was it worth it? Of course not. Inside, my classmates were sharing their scores with one another. When it was my turn, the reaction was unanimous. Cheers and congratulations. My deskmate Lily clapped and said, Emily, you earned this. I did. I said without hesitation. I'd clawed my way here through months and months of grinding and perseverance. Now that we'd graduated, everyone started loosening up, drinking like adults. I sipped a little myself, bitter at first, but with a sweet aftertaste. It was just like the short but painful past I'd left behind, and the hopeful future ahead of me. Then a girl walked in and sat beside me. I recognized her. It was the same girl who used to compete with me for second place. A little tipsy, my words were slurred, and my expressions silly, which made her giggle. After things calmed down a bit, I asked, Why'd you come to this room? Weren't you supposed to be next door with the honors class? She looked a little awkward, hesitated for a moment, and finally said, I came to apologize for that mask I gave you back then. Ryan Chen told me to give it to you, but he made me promise not to tell you. So that was it. I shrugged and replied casually, I already knew. And I was also the one who told Tiffany about you and Ryan, she added. I'm really sorry. I was scared that you'd surpass me in the rankings and I panicked. So I tried to make trouble for you, but after you actually did surpass me, I stopped being afraid. She rambled on, apologizing over and over. I finally interrupted with a small laugh. I know. So what school did you get into? I didn't do too well. I'm planning to retake the exam next year, she said, her eyes firm. I want to get into Tsinghua. I thought for a moment, then gave her a thumbs up and said sincerely, When you're afraid, face it head on. There's nothing a good test can't fix. And if one test isn't enough, take 2. I'll be waiting for you at Tsinghua. She nodded, then cautiously asked, Do you still remember Ryan Chen? At the mention of his name, my mind immediately recalled the moment that had stuck with me both in my past life and this one. Why not dance? Back then, I'd suspected that Ryan Carter wasn't the one who danced with me. I knew the boy who'd led me through those steps must have been someone else. But I never would have guessed that it was him. The one person I couldn't surpass, even after being reborn. Ryan Chen had never made waves. He'd barely registered on anyone's radar except during score announcements when he would quietly stand, calmly collect his test, and return to his seat. Of course I remember, I said. Top of the class, right? I picked up a glass and downed it in one go, trying to drown the strange thoughts in my mind, but the liquor hit hard, burning down my throat and making me cough. A delicate hand reached toward me, holding a glass of water. I looked up, stunned, and saw Ryan Chen smiling softly. You should drink water, he said. I took the glass, flustered. Thanks. The girl who had been sitting next to me took the cue and quietly walked away, leaving her seat open for Ryan. I found myself blurting the first question that came to mind. Why? Ryan seemed to understand exactly what I meant. Because I was always watching from the sidelines, but I didn't want to distract you or myself. I knew if I slacked even a little, you'd catch up. He pulled out his acceptance letter. The words Tsinghua University gleamed across the top, exactly like mine. I came to tell you, he added, handing it to me. Half joking, I asked, you didn't get into Tsinghua because of me, did you? But Ryan didn't catch the teasing in my tone. He answered, seriously, of course not, Emily. The college entrance exam is one of the biggest decisions in life. I wouldn't joke about it. Tsinghua was my own goal, just like I hope your decision to go there was yours, because your life, your most brilliant life, should be in your own hands. He paused. I didn't say anything before, because I didn't want to disrupt either of us. But now it's different. Now I want to pursue the person I like at the university we both love. I hesitated, unsure of what to say. Then, catching sight of some candy in his pocket, I teased, Wait, you eat candy? He smirked. Didn't notice before. Do you eat it when you get stuck on hard problems? He pulled out the candy and handed it to me like it was the most natural thing in the world. You have low blood sugar. I brought these for you. I'm not carrying you to the nurse's office again. My chest tightened for a second. So many emotions churned beneath the surface. And yet he said it so simply. Well, excuse me, I muttered with a mock glare. I don't get stuck on problems. Sure, he said, still wearing that maddeningly calm smile. Just like that, 4 years of college flew by. I had just secured a guaranteed spot in my university's graduate program when my phone rang. It was the old class representative from high school. Emily, she said cheerily. You were in our class for over 2 years. There's a reunion coming up. You've got to come. A hand reached over and clasped mine. A diamond sparkled from the engagement ring on my finger. All right, I told her over the phone. I'll come with Ryan Chen. I hung up quickly, ignoring her gasp of excitement. Then I looked up at Ryan's smiling eyes and muttered, You better be the one to deal with all their questions. I'm not cut out for the drama. Okay, he said simply. In hindsight, I should have known better. Ryan Chen barely spoke, but when he did, he could silence an entire room. At the reunion, everyone was obviously waiting for some drama, eyes darting between me and Ryan Chen. I smiled freely while Ryan paused, then said with absolute calm, Yes, Emily and I are getting married. The room went dead silent for a moment until one guy finally broke it with a loud, No way. No way. When did you two even start dating? As the room burst into a frenzy of questions, Ryan answered them all patiently, one by one. He didn't seem the least bit flustered. That's when my old desk mate sighed and said, I'm honestly surprised you and Ryan ended up together. There wasn't even a whisper about it back in high school, but with you and Ryan Carter, there was gossip everywhere. And look how that turned out. Good love, I thought, has never needed to be loud. I glanced over at Ryan, who was now calmly explaining how we'd gotten together, answering each curious classmate with this quiet pride, like a teenager showing off his first love. I couldn't help but smile. Then it suddenly hit me. Wait, almost everyone's here. Where's our class president? Time had passed and the past felt far away. I'd only asked out of habit, not really expecting an answer, but my desk mate was all too happy to share the latest gossip. They've broken up and gotten back together so many times I've lost count, he said excitedly. Every time Ryan Carter wanted to break up with her, Tiffany would remind him that she'd ruined her college prospects for him. She kept saying she scored so low just to be with him. After a while he got fed up. He paused meaningfully. You know how Ryan's family is loaded. He's never been short on women throwing themselves at him. Just as he finished, the very people we were talking about appeared. Tiffany and Ryan Carter walked in late. It felt like a flashback to high school. The second they entered, the whole room turned to look. Tiffany looked pregnant. She was glowing, smiling brightly as she greeted a few familiar girls. Ryan Carter's eyes, however, locked onto me immediately. He walked straight over and looked down at me with a self-important air. "Emily," he said, "you won. I regret everything." "Good," I replied without missing a beat. "You should regret it. I regret ever being blind enough to date you." I kept my tone sweet and sincere. Too sincere, which only made his face darken. Still not giving up, Ryan tried to push my buttons again. Putting on a fake soft voice, he said, "I heard you're staying at Singa for grad school. I knew you'd always be amazing. And that's why you and I were always meant to be together." That actually made me gag a little. I didn't let it slide. I raised my voice. "Tiffany, come get your husband." She hadn't made it over yet, but Ryan Chin had. Without a word, Ryan stepped in front of me and extended his hand. I took it. And just like that, he led me away. As Ryan gently led me away, his hand wrapped securely around mine, I didn't look back. Not at the people I had once cared about too much. Not at the version of myself who thought love meant giving everything and asking for nothing. Not at the boy who once held my heart in the palm of his hand and crushed it without a second thought. I had already walked through fire. And this time, I didn't come out burned. I came out shining. Later that night, after the reunion, Ryan and I sat quietly under the stars outside the venue. He looked over at me, his voice soft but steady. "Do you regret anything?" I thought for a moment, then smiled. "Not anymore. Because in this life, I chose myself first. I chased dreams instead of boys, answers instead of approval. And in the process, I found something even better. Someone who stood by me, not above me. Someone who didn't just love who I was, but believed in who I could be." That night, with the noise of the past finally behind me, and the future stretched wide open before me, I realized this time I wasn't rewriting the ending. I was finally writing my own.